Good evening and welcome to Debate 2020. This debate is for the Board of Trustees at El Camino Community College. We want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. We hope you find this meeting to be interesting and will help you to make a decision when it comes time to cast your vote for this office. We'd like to acknowledge and thank the sponsors of this event, Kevin Cody and the staff at Easy Reading News, New Voodoo Media Services, which is a full-service digital marketing and research agency, and Hermosa1.com. Their mission is to make Hermosa1.com a one-stop destination for everything concerning Hermosa Beach. Thank you all again for joining us. For those of you that might not be familiar with El Camino College, it was founded in 1947. El Camino Community College is a two-year public community college located in Alondra Park, nestled between Gardena, Torrance, and the city of Los Angeles. It spans almost 26 acres, so it's a very large campus. It is one of two community colleges that serve the South Bay. Tonight, we have two candidates that are running for one opening to represent Trustee Area 3 on the Board of Trustees at El Camino Community College. Trustee Area 3 includes El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, and North Redondo Beach. Now, just a little bit about the format of the debate. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question, and each candidate will have 1 minute to make a closing statement. I'll rotate the order of the questions. Now, let's meet the candidate. Tonight, we have Sienna Collado Mute joining us, and our second candidate is Tricia Murakawa. So without further ado, we'll have them make their opening statements. Sienna, let's start with you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Sienna. I'm a mother, a daughter, a wife, an advocate, a lawyer. I'm a resident of Redondo Beach, a proud graduate of El Camino, and that's why I'm here today, because El Camino was a launching pad for my professional development. I went from there to USC, to Southwestern Law School. Upon graduating, I went to the LA County District Attorney's Office for almost 9 years, serving 4 of which in Torrance, where it feeds into the communities that El Camino serves, as well as Inglewood. While at El Camino, I was very fortunate to be elected the student trustee, and that's where I want to come back to and be able to help and guide the college in the next 20 years as to the new president and navigating these post-COVID waters. I have always had a dedication to helping those that have been, wronged and advocating for people. So I feel like being on the board of trustees will allow me to continue that advocacy skills and give back to the community college that's given so much to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sienna. And Tricia?
Thank you, Janice. As a college student, I developed a passion for education and then went on to work on those issues on staff in the state legislature. I worked for Senator Diane Watson, the first African-American woman elected to the LA School Board, and then for Assemblyman Tom Hayden when he chaired the Higher Education Committee. I then served as the Assistant Director for Government Relations for UCLA. I continue to work on these issues by training disabled college students and raising money to house college students who are homeless. I've lived in Redondo Beach for 29 years and served on 4 commissions over the span of 24 years. I've had my business in Redondo for 19 years and raised my 2 children here. Both attended local public schools. I have a 30-year-long track record of public and community service and leadership experience. I've served with the American Lung Association at the state and national levels, including 2 years as chair of the board, with the local mental health agency for 10 years, 2 as president, with the downtown LA-based economic development organization for the last 10 years, and the board of Women's Transportation Seminar for the last 4 years. I have a long track record of public service, and fortunately, I'm in the phase of my life that allows me the time to take my service to the next level. I'm most proud to have the endorsement of the El Camino faculty and a broad base of support that includes State Treasurer Fiona Ma, Congressman Ted Lieu, Senator Ben Allen, Assemblyman Al Muratsuchi, and a large majority of local office holders. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tricia. So let's get started with the questions. Sienna, we'll start with you, this one. And some of this I realized was covered in your opening statement, but the question is, why are you running for El Camino board? And what qualifications will you bring to the board that is currently lacking?
Okay, well, I think you're correct. I mentioned some of those in my initial statement. I'm running because El Camino was a launching pad not only for myself, but for my husband. He went the trade route and he's a firefighter for LA City. I went the college route and transferred to USC. He also went to USC. So I want to ensure that those opportunities are available for students, especially given what's going on at this time. I also bring a perspective of being all of the constituent base. I was a student there. I've taught at higher education. I was a professor at Southwestern Law School, where I graduated from as an adjunct professor. I've been an employee. I'm an administrator now that I have my own firm, and I'm a taxpayer. So I could see every constituent base and bring that to the table and balance everyone's interests, which is the role of a board of governor. It's not to advocate for a particular group or interest. It's to balance everyone and make sure that the college is fiscally safe from what we're going to enter into this new 2021, whatever it may bring. And I bring a history of also community service. I was a public servant for 9 years. I volunteered. I've taught at Rosa Parks in Linwood for 5 years and 5 years at Centinela Valley as a project lead coordinator, which is legal enrichment and decision-making, to help fifth graders not fall into crime, the pressures of bullying, drug abuse, anything like that. I've donated to the Warrior Pantry. I've supported the El Camino Foundation throughout the years. I've spoken to students about transferring to El Camino and going there. I don't see a timer, so I'm not really sure where I'm on the time.
You're at time, yes.
Okay, well, I see that my time is up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, Tricia, may I have your response?
Sure. I'm running for El Camino Community College Board because I'm ready to help take El Camino to its next level of success. I'm also at a really good time in my life where I have the time in terms of the phase of my life. I've served on 4 commissions in Redondo Beach. So I have experience serving as an appointed official. I understand open meeting laws, but I also have served as the chair of the American Lung Association in California. And the reason that's relevant is because the most important thing that this next board is going to do is hire the next president of the college. When I was chair of the board, I had to unfortunately fire our CEO because even though he was a great person, it wasn't a good fit, but it also gave me the opportunity to lead the search effort for the new CEO. And so that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to doing as a member of the Board of Trustees.
Thank you so much, Tricia. Next question, and we'll start with you, Tricia. What is the extent and nature of your past relationship with or services to the college?
As I mentioned briefly in my opening, I have a background in higher education. I worked for Assemblyman Tom Hayden. I was part of his legislative staff, and he chaired the Higher Education Committee. So that was when I was first exposed to policy issues in higher education. But when I was at UCLA, I was the assistant director for government relations. So I worked on issues of higher education when I worked at UCLA. And while I was there, I also worked on 2 statewide initiatives that helped fund. There were 2 bond measures that helped provide additional funding for public higher education institutions. So that is the experience that I will bring in education. The timer is, it's throwing me off. I have 20 seconds?
It stopped at 24.
Oh, okay.
It stopped.
Yeah, because it started and then it didn't go and then it went on again. Sorry, I'm getting a little confused.
Okay. I'm sorry about that. Okay, Sienna.
Your question, Janice, if I understand correctly, was my dedication to the college referring to El Camino College, not higher education generally, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
I believe your question was directed as involvement with the college, referring to El Camino, not just college in general.
That's correct. El Camino, referring to El Camino.
Specifically, okay, well, I believe I answered that in my last question, but I'll refer to it. I've supported the college since graduation with the foundation events, the Warrior Pantry, mentoring students, going back and speaking to high school students about coming to El Camino, and attending board meetings when possible. And in anticipation of this position, I've been to the budget planning workshop and the last board meeting as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Sienna. So next question, we'll start with you. How do you view the role of the trustees in governing the college?
I also believe I anticipated that. The trustees, from what I recall as a student trustee, was I thought I was a student representative to the board, but in reality, you're basically presenting a voice of the students, but you're balancing everyone's interest. So you listen to all the constituent parts, the taxpayers that elect you, the students that we're all there to serve, as well as the faculty and staff that are there to serve the students themselves. So you balance everyone's interest and do what's fiscally responsible for the college to stay afloat and not go into a precarious financial situation.
Thank you, Sienna. And Trish, how do you view the role of the trustees in governing the college?
Well, the role of the trustee is basically to hire and evaluate the president. The president has a day-to-day responsibilities of leading and running the college, and to vote and approve a budget. But the other things that a trustee can do is help provide partnering opportunities and help leverage opportunities to help the college succeed.
Okay, thank you very much. Having said that, Tricia, we're going to start with you. What is your vision of the mission of the college and its role in our community?
Well, El Camino is a community college, and community college is the people's college. It's a place for everybody. So the priorities for community college is to improve transfer rates for those students who want to transfer to a four-year university, to provide career pathways for those who don't want to go to a four-year university, to provide retraining opportunities for those who need it, and to make sure that we have lifelong learning opportunities for those who want to seek additional enrichment. But in our area, another very important priority would be to expand dual enrollment for high school students who want to enroll both at El Camino as well as high school. So those are the things that I see as priorities for El Camino.
Okay, thank you, Tricia. And Sienna?
I would agree with Tricia. The missions of the community colleges are twofold, mainly to help vocational training and also for those students like myself who want to transfer to a four-year college. So you want to assist them with articulation agreements to make sure that they have the prerequisites and the foundation at El Camino to succeed at a four-year university. And for those that have a second career path that want to go there to do a trade profession, plumbing, electrician, mechanic, and not transfer anywhere, to have those abilities as well. And as Tricia indicated, it's also for high school students who want to do dual. So I don't disagree with the mission. I believe it's pretty obvious that what El Camino is there to do for our community.
Okay, thank you so much. So the next question, we'll start with you, Sienna. What do you see as the focus of the college in the future, both short and long term?
Well, I think in the short term, we need to adjust to the COVID issues that we're having now. We're sitting on beautiful buildings at El Camino that are currently closed given the health crisis on a national level. So how to transition to make sure the students have the resources they need to do this learning from home situation. And once things are okay with Sacramento and we're given the green light that the college can open, how to reopen safely to ensure that faculty, students, and staff are able to continue their education in person without any health hazards.
Thank you. And Tricia?
In terms of the short term, again, I think that the first priority is going to be hiring the right person to serve as the president of the college. Because President Maloney announced her retirement at the end of the school year, that will be one of the first things that this new board is going to be doing. So in the short term, hiring the new president. As well, like Sienna said, making sure that we can take care of the public health and public safety of the students, the faculty, and the staff. And then long term, I think making sure that we have enough funding for El Camino to make sure that we can protect students and their curriculum.
Thank you very much, Tricia. We'll ask the next question of you. What are some ideas you have for increasing community involvement with the campus?
Definitely, I want to expand on partnerships between El Camino and other stakeholder organizations. When I mentioned to a friend of mine who's an executive in one of the aerospace corporations that I was running, she was very excited for me. I was really excited to receive her support. But what she said to me is, Trisha, why don't we have a paid internship program dedicated just to El Camino students? And I said, I don't know, but that's one of the things that I want to do. So that's one of the ideas that I wanted to do. But the other is I really want to create a solid, fortified, strong pre-apprenticeship program between the high schools that feed into El Camino and El Camino to make sure that we are strengthening, encouraging those career pathways, especially in the building trades.
Thank you very much, Tricia. And Sienna?
I would agree that we need to strengthen those career pathways, but I also think that we need to assist the SCROC, Southern California Regional Occupational Center. It's been having some financial situations and there's been talks about it closing. A lot of high school students, from what I've heard from Manhattan Beach, would go there and take classes. So we need to figure out a way how El Camino can partnership with them if it's possible to make sure those options are available for high school students and also college students who want to go there, to make sure they have an option for vocational trades. I also think that we could work with local businesses that can offer, I'm willing to offer legal internships at my law firm at Hermosa, and I'm sure I can get other colleagues of mine to do the same, people that are considering law school, which is how I got into law to begin with, because I was exposed to it at a very young career portion of my law and my college career. So I'm grateful for the opportunity and I hope to give it to other people as well.
Wonderful, thank you. And next up, Sienna, we'll start with you. What is your understanding of the concept of congenial consultation and AB 1725?
Congenial, is that the collegiate consultation?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, 1725. From what I recall, from being on the board, that's when you shared governance, the concept of like the board gets information from like the academic senate, and they rely primarily on their recommendations because that's kind of their expertise. So they defer to the academic senate with regards to articulation stuff, prerequisites. So I believe you work in collaboration with the academic senate to make decisions because obviously that's what they know. Kind of stay in your lane, defer to the experts on the subjects. Like I wouldn't know anything about like biology, and when it comes to classes, so I'd defer to the experts in that.
Okay, thank you very much. And Tricia?
I think Sienna explained it, but my understanding is basically shared governance, so that all stakeholders have an opportunity to have a say and are part of the decision-making process.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start with you on the next question, Tricia. How do you see the role of the faculty at the college through the Academic Senate and the Federation of Teachers? Are they the same or are they different? And if you could explain, please.
I think that they're different. The El Camino Faculty Union is a labor union and they negotiate in collective bargaining with the management. And the Academic Senate plays sort of a different role with the president, and they don't do collective bargaining and negotiate contracts and salaries and health benefits and things like that. So they're two different entities. And that doesn't mean that you can't be a member of both.
Well, I suppose it doesn't, but that's a very interesting proposition. Okay, thank you. And Sienna?
I would agree. The teachers faculty union is collective bargaining unit for the college, for the teachers, trying to get better increase their salaries, which we've seen happen, who also recruited my opponent. And then the academic senate is kind of like what we referred to earlier, the shared governance issue, where they work on the curriculum, the prerequisite courses, the articulation agreements, more like the education itself. And I don't believe they're mutually exclusive. I believe it could be part of both, one or the other or both.
Okay, thank you, Sienna. So Sienna, if elected, what would be your top 2 priorities on the board? And how would you accomplish and finance these priorities?
The top 2 priorities, I believe Trish and I would agree on this. One of them is hiring the president, because we need a leader that's going to lead the El Camino into the next, hopefully 10, 20 years. I believe the board's already met at the last meeting I was there. They were looking to hire a recruiting firm to search for that president, and it's a collaborative process. So I believe there's a budget allocated for that as it is, or they're revisiting how much to increase it, or whatever package they may have. And the second thing would also be to revisit our retention recruiting efforts to make sure that they have, they're taking into consideration students' needs, that they're diverse, there's inclusion and equity in those policies to retain more students and increase our enrollment, which is always a goal.
Thank you, Sienna. And Tricia?
Well, first I want to say that these are unusual times, so it's hard to say what the top 2 priorities are. But as I mentioned, the first thing that this new board is going to do is hire the new president. So that's going to be the number 1 priority, because the president is the day-to-day leader of the college. The board meets once a month, so it's not quite the same thing. But the other priority there, I would say that there's 2, because we're in this time of COVID. We need to make sure that we protect the health and safety of the students, the faculty, and the staff. And then the other thing that we need to take care of is to make sure that El Camino is funded. It has the full financial support that it needs to succeed all across the board, because ultimately the goal of El Camino is to provide this education for students, for all students.
Thank you. Now, Trish, if you are elected, what program or service would you advocate for to improve the curriculum so that graduates are better prepared to compete for Ivy League institutions?
I'm not sure what program or service that I would want to focus on to improve, to help position our graduates to apply to Ivy League institutions. And the reason I say I don't know is because I would want to make sure that we take care of all of our students, not just those elite level students who want to position themselves to apply and transfer to elite programs. But we do have guided pathways that provides programming for students at all levels, regardless if you want to transfer to a 4-year university or you're on a path to a career. And so I would want to focus on making sure that we have enough funding for the Guided Pathways program. That's one of the initiatives to sort of equalize opportunity for students across the board. It's only funded for 5 years, but it's a 10-year program, and there's certain benchmarks that we need to meet. So I would want to focus on making sure that we fully fund that program and provide all the support to faculty, students, and the counselors to help make sure that we help these students who do want to transfer to elite level universities.
Thank you very much. And Sienna?
I believe they have already done something similar with transfer to historically black colleges and universities on the East Coast. I believe that whatever efforts were made to do those kind of agreements for pathways for those students could be done with the Ivy Leagues, if that's what they so choose. I know that I was a benefit of not an Ivy League, but USC, which is a good college, a guaranteed admission because of a honor transfer program I did. They have that similarly with UCs and CSUs. So I don't see why that couldn't happen with universities on the East Coast as well. We have the system in place to do it. We just need to go out there and figure out what our students' needs are and come up with those agreements.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll start the next question with you, Sienna. Funding from the Federal CARES Act allowed the college to issue refunds to students for registration and parking fees. It also provided financial assistance to students that were hard hit by the movement to online instruction. The college purchased over 200 laptop computers, provided cash payments of an average of $250 each, and quadrupled the volume of donated food to the Warrior Pantry. The fiscal budget for 2020 to 2021 has a shortfall of at least $14 million. Do you think the refunds and expenditures were appropriate? If so, why or why not?
I'm sorry, you cut it for a second. Do I think the refunds and expenditures were what?
Were appropriate?
I do. I do believe it's appropriate because having been having benefited from financial aid from El Camino as a first generation college student that was on financial aid and had to fight against parking fee increases because that would impact my ability to go to school. We're here to learn. And if you don't have the ability to have a computer and have Wi-Fi, then you're losing the ability to get an education. So it's necessary for them. I know some people might not think that that's appropriate, but that's what we're here for. And I've donated to the Warrior Pantry because I know the struggles of being a pretty poor college student and having to decide between books and buying food. So I do think they're appropriate. And if we have to cut things elsewhere, we're here for the students.
Thank you very much. And Tricia, your thoughts?
So I just want to make sure that I understand. The bottom line question is, do I feel that we should?
Do you think the refunds and expenditures were appropriate?
For the money that we received from the CARES Act?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I frankly don't really know if $250 or $500 is really enough for the students. El Camino received, I think, about $6 million to go towards student assistance, the $250 to $500 aid, as well as about $6 million, like $5.8 million from CARES Act. And I believe that it was 2,200 laptops that were received, as well as MiFis, to make sure that we're closing that technology gap for the students who need it, who don't have that technology, to make sure that they have the ability to do social distance learning. The CARES Act is separate funding, and so we can't use CARES Act money to address any budget shortfalls. CARES Act money is for student assistance. It has specific allocations, and we need to use it that way. At least that's my understanding of it.
Yes, and it would seem that you did use it for the students in this case, for certain.
That's right.
Okay, all righty. So following up on that, as I mentioned, the college is expected to have a shortfall of about $14 million. The question then becomes, Tricia, to you, starting with you, do you think the reserve funds should be used to offset the deficit? If so, why or why not?
From what I understand, we have about $32 million in reserves. And I would need to learn more about what best practices are, because when I was chair of the American Lung Association, best practices for your reserves is about 3 months of revenues, or what you need. And so I don't know how much that reserve represents. I'm thinking it's like 2 months, but I don't know. But let's really hope that Proposition 15, if it does pass, will help address some of that funding gap, because community colleges will absolutely benefit from that tax loophole.
Thank you, Tricia. And Sienna?
I don't believe we should dip into the reserves at this point, because we're going to a precarious financial situation. We don't know what the future holds. We don't know what's going to happen with COVID. So if we dip into those reserves and later on we don't have the money, we know what's happened before. We saw it at Compton. We saw what happened in San Francisco Community College when the board was taken over by a teachers union and they went bankrupt. So I believe we need to be fiscally conservative and make sure we have our reserves there, because we don't know what's going to happen in the next year. So we've got to tighten our ship.
Thank you, Sienna. And I'll ask the next question of you. If elected, what would you do to increase revenue or decrease expenses in an effort to try to close the budget gap?
I believe the easiest way to increase revenue, because it's a state-funded college, is to increase full-time enrollment students. So we would have to work on our recruiting at high school levels. And perhaps now that people have been out of work or laid off or working from home, working with the communities to increase, other people to get trades and professions that they can take classes at community college, to increase our enrollment in order to increase our funding. And in terms of decreasing expenditures, I'd have to see what we're spending it on that's not been useful in the last year, given that we've not been working from the college itself, to see how we can reduce those expenses. But it's kind of a loaded question under a minute.
And you did, did great, because you still have actual time. So thank you so much. Tricia.
The question was, what would I do to close the budget gap? Is that what the question was?
What would you do to increase revenue or decrease expenses to close the budget gap? Mhm.
Well, again, Proposition 15, if it passes, it will definitely help to address some of that. And because I have 30 years of relationships, because I have been helping to get, I've been working in the community in terms of my public service and community service, I would absolutely use those relationships and leverage those relationships to help advocate for more funding opportunities for El Camino. But we would have to take a hard look at our budget, and we do have the budget workshop process. As I said, I believe in shared governance, and we want to hear from all stakeholders. But the bottom line is we cannot hurt students and we cannot hurt the curriculum, because the bottom line is the students need to get their education.
Thank you. Based on the fact that you will have a budget deficit, do you see the lowering of the salary for the incoming superintendent as an opportunity to reduce the expenses for the college? If so, why or why not?
And I'm assuming you're asking me first because I just went last, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. I would say no, not necessarily, because I think that we need to get the best person for the job. And I think that people need to get paid what they deserve. And so if we lower the salary, or if we pay somebody less than what they deserve, that may be what we get. We need to make sure that we hire the right person for the job, for the president. And I think that they need to get paid what they deserve, just like everybody who works at El Camino. You need to get paid for what you deserve. So I would say your salary should be commensurate with your experience.
Thank you. And Sienna?
I agree with Tricia. We want to get the best leader for the college that's going to do carry us into the next 10, 20 years. We want to make sure that they're accurately compensated, and it has to be competitive with their experience. So yes, I agree. No dispute there.
Okay, thank you. So last question. What are your criteria for the selection of a new superintendent?
Well, given that we've been talking a lot about budgets, I believe my criteria will be that someone's fiscally sound and has a lot of experience in terms of dealing with budget crisis. And, we don't know what's going to happen. Someone that's flexible, adaptable to the needs of the college. If they have experience with community college in the past, that's a bonus, but not necessarily a requirement. Someone that's going to take into consideration diversity, equity, and inclusion in the hiring of administrators, as well as recruiting and retention of students and faculty and staff. So a well-rounded individual, in my opinion, and someone with a positive attitude that's willing to collaborate with all constituents.
Thank you. And Tricia?
I think that the next president has to come in with good values. Of course, they have to be experienced professionally, having experience running a large organization, being the leader of a similar size or larger organization. They do have to have budget experience. They have to show us what their track record is in that area. But I also really think that the person needs to be a leader and be committed. They need to show what their values are. I think that's really important. And I do think they need to be a good communicator, because as we all know, there are lots of different stakeholders of El Camino, both at the college, whether they work there, go to school there, teach there, as well as all the stakeholders in the community. And I really think that the college president needs to be a good communicator, and that person, along with the board, is going to set the tone of what the culture is of the organization. And so they need to be committed to achieving our mission and working with all stakeholders at El Camino.
Thank you. Thank you both for answering our questions. And now we're at the point of you giving us your closing statements. So Tricia, having taken the last question, we'll start with you.
Thank you. Community college is the people's college, where everyone is given a second and third chance for retraining, careers in trades or healthcare, and students of all ages. The mission of community colleges encompasses my values. If elected, my priorities will include reinventing the learning environment to protect the health of our students, faculty, and staff. That's why I'm endorsed by the United Nurses Association of California. Hiring the right president to lead the college and ensuring that person shares the values I've expressed here tonight. And that's why I've received the support of current and former El Camino trustees. Fighting to make sure El Camino gets its fair share of funding. That's why I'm endorsed by the El Camino faculty. And reducing economic barriers to education. That's why I'm endorsed by State Treasurer Fiona Ma, who will help me find funding for student housing. We've only had a short time to get to know each other tonight, and I hope you will look to the diverse group of people who have taken the time to vet me and determine that I am the most qualified person for this position. I hope that you agree. My name is Tricia Murakawa, and I would be very honored to have your vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tricia. And Sienna.
Thank you. Well, clearly I'm not the establishment candidate because I'm not a politician, but what I can tell you is that I'm a warrior through and through. I went there 20 years ago. I've been in contact with that college for the last 20 years and intend to give back. And I want to ensure its financial and fiscal future for the next 20 years so other students like myself can have that opportunity. I have no personal agenda other than doing what's best. I've sat on that board before and I intend on sitting on that board in the future with your vote. And I thank you for your time. Sienna Kayabute for trustee.
Thank you. Thank you, Sienna, and thank you, Tricia, for participating in this debate. I want to thank the audience for joining us this evening. We hope that the information that the candidates share will assist you in making your voting decision. And we look forward to seeing you real soon. Thank you so very much. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.